I have an interesting letter. So, up to my old tricks, I'll read it. Dear J.R., I awoke this morning after Insight graduation with a quiet yet very deeply rooted depression. I bet that's the first time the depression's ever gotten such a good laugh. A feeling that is very familiar to me. My first response was, so quickly? I began to negate myself and thought that tonight I would ask you what I can do about these early morning blues that I awake so often with. Driving to work, I felt that I was already buying into the pain and giving it power, and that if I accepted even this much, I'd be in trouble real fast. I had the power to change my feelings, but I would have to take charge. At that moment, I was filled so deeply with God's energy, a very deep and quiet place for me. Flashes of this week go before me. I wasn't experiencing this week as others were. My heart didn't burst open. I didn't feel ecstatic. Up until the moment before you gave Darshan, I felt that I just didn't allow myself to really open up all the way. I accept now that openings are manifested differently for everyone. That's so. My experience was for me alone. I got exactly what I needed to get, and now, in the silence, it seems that transformation is happening. The internal roto-rooter. I am in touch with my power at this moment and want to touch everyone I see with this love. My only fear is forgetting once again. I hope that I remember always. I want to thank you from the deepest place in my heart for what you and the staff are sharing with everyone. Last night when you spoke, I felt something that I haven't felt since I was with a spiritual teacher last, and realized how deeply I've missed that space. I feel totally cleansed when I am in the presence of truth, and thank you. I am glad to know that there was someone close by to come to when I need to be reminded. In love. Couple real key things in that letter, folks. It's okay to have depressions. You just don't have to stay in them for a long time. Most people, God bless them, that's us, in case you're wondering, somehow we have inside of us, I'm going to use the word quirk, a twist, a bend, that we feel we've got to have those depressions and those negative feelings for some reason that I haven't been able to fathom entirely. And for those people that feel that way, that's true for them. The rest of you people that don't have that, that's not true for you unless it is true for you. Meaning, you give up the space of joy, of the enchantment of your life, and dwell in the negativity and the depression. Now, just looking at this, how many of you could probably agree with the statement that you are the way you are today primarily because of your past? Right? Does that seem to fit? And can you get the idea that the past can't be changed? Okay. If the past can't be changed, and you are the way you are because of your past, then you're doomed. You don't want to be doomed. Past can be transformed from spirit, and only from spirit. It cannot be transformed through hypnotic regressions, nor through incarnation readings, nor any other kind of falderall you want to bring up. All it does is give you another distraction to alleviate some sort of pressures you have on you at that moment. And that may be doing you a great disservice. Please, do not attempt to alleviate the pressure on you too rapidly, because it may be your teacher teaching you the last thing to be taught to you before God opens up inside of you as a transforming energy. Please don't go running around to people to help them get through your stuff so you can keep going through your stuff, the same stuff. Far, far too often, when I listen in, I hear some of you stating oh, this thing's been going on with me, or something else is dramatic. 2 days later, it's the same thing. 3 weeks later, it's the same thing. 5 weeks later, it's the same stuff, and now they've got 40 or 30 people hooked in to all this bowl. And they keep running it out, and primarily it is, nobody understands me. I don't understand me. So what? We keep perpetrating the karmic flow of negativity with these people by not bringing them into the responsibility of what they are doing that continually keeps promoting the action of negativity on them. And it is not your job to change them. Get it real clear. Because if you change them, as soon as you leave, they'll change back. Now we have, how many people here are involved in the therapy fields of counseling? Okay. You people have found out, I'm sure, that when the person left you, they were in really good spirits, and later on, shortly afterwards, you get a phone call and they're in bad spirits, right? Not only that, maybe they committed suicide to show you how bad they were. Or they're attempting it to prove the point. And we keep saying, I don't understand it. When I left them, they were in such good spirits. You should have gone with them. If we can only be in good spirits in terms of a therapist or a leaning post, we're in bad trouble in terms of even the therapist. Because it won't be too long until they say, don't go to that therapist, all their people go crazy, if they're not already. Or after you go see that therapist, you go kill yourself. And so the therapist himself gets a reputation of being ineffective. And that isn't what they're in business for, to be ineffective. Their whole thing is to bring the personal effectiveness of the person who comes to them forward. And so that they're not personally ineffective. And they feel at a loss in their consciousness. How do we gain personal effectiveness? How do we gain that? It isn't a gain. It's a process of revelation. Whenever we have gained from the world out here to us, whenever we've gained from the world out here to us, we gain problems. Remember we said, I want that, and then all this came with it. You say, I didn't want that, but it comes with it. It has always come with it. It's always going to come with it. And if you can get it clear that that's how that works, it'll be okay when it comes with it. You get it? So it's not saying you can't have it, but when it shows up, you say, yes, and I have a place for that. Most people don't. They say, well, it came in, so it's got to be part of it. You can exercise discernment, and that doesn't mean that you fight what comes in, but it does mean that you have a right to decide what you're going to embrace of that. People will come up to you and tell you the truth. And right in it, they tell you lies. And you start to embrace the truth and end up kissing the lies and wondering later on, why did everything go so wrong with that? Because you were not able to discern the lie, because you were not able to discern the truth. We do not discern the truth until we start living in truth. Very important. And if you have a hard time knowing those, then don't embrace either one of them, but just stand tall in yourself as someone who's going to stand in their own personal effectiveness and be effective as a person standing and not as a post that they're going to lean on, or as the garbage pit that they're going to drop the garbage on, or as the local corral where all the bowl stuff goes. You just don't have to do it. And if you truly, truly love that person, and I'm talking about, the personality and the emotions and the stinky feet and the runny nose, all of that. If you do truly, truly love them, don't enter into that with them, but stand out of it so they have a reference point of what is out of it. If you get in with them, they're caught and you're caught, and down you go. Then they look at you and they say, I don't know why I came to you for advice. You're as bad as I am. Maybe worse. Well, they probably are worse because they had their own stuff before, and now they got yours, and that's more. So there's a real hard time there with, how do I know the difference? Look, you don't have to know the difference. You have to be the difference. The difference from the junk they're running to the spiritual loving form that they're going towards. And you just stay in the spiritual loving form, and they'll see that and start moving towards it, and they will change what has to be changed, and they will transform what has to be transformed through the Spirit. Because none of us here have that ability on this physical level to do that. They will transform by the observation that we stand as a transformed consciousness. And that doesn't mean that we can't sit down and have a beer with them, and eat with them, and sleep with them, and talk with them. We just don't get caught up in that. And if you don't know the difference, then don't go to sleep with them. And if you don't know that difference, don't eat with them. And if you don't know that difference, don't drink with them. And if you don't know that difference, get out of the business because you're the wrong one in there. It's called the blind leading the blind. We go to another person, yea, for counsel, and for nurturing, and for assistance, and for anything else we can get from them. And we don't want to be told how to do it, but we'd like to have them exercise the options of looking. And that's nice. When someone comes to any of you people, ministers, therapists, lay people, you who just have the loving heart, and they come to you, and you're going to give them counsel, give them 4 or 5 ways in which to do it. That gives them the freedom of their own expression so that they can learn from that expression of what bottled them up and what can get them free. And if you only tell them the one way, that way may just not do it because you, outside of it, don't have all the information, because obviously they've withheld something from you. They're holding back something, and that holding back is a thing that you didn't know about, and that's what you're telling them to do against that, and they aren't going to go against that. That's like saying to them, well, I'd hit the person, but they didn't tell you that it was their husband or their wife. So obviously they can't go hit them, but so they do go, and they hit them, and they come back with black eyes and bloody nose, and they say, I took your advice, and I went and hit my husband, I went and hit my wife, and look what I got. You told me to do that. And how do you get out of that? Not too well you don't get out, because you told them. But if you say, well, you could have ducked, why didn't you tell me that in the beginning? You could have moved, you could have talked to them, you could have had a third person there so nobody could swing, and you give them options that are reasonable. Reasonable. That if you were in that situation, what is it that you would really want for yourself? You may say, well, I'd like to hit my husband, but I don't want him to hit me back, so I'd like a big guy there with me. So I can like poke through and then stand back and say, ah. Fight fair if you're going to fight. And you know how you can tell if you fought fair? You can sit afterwards and talk about it. The same way you can sit and talk about the sex after you've had it. And discuss what goes on and this and that. And yeah, when you said that and I countered with this and you came off with that, I wanted to slaughter you. But I couldn't because I didn't know what to do. So I cried. Then I won. When we get the intent that that person that we're talking to is a reflection of us in that spirit, you start to see through them. And let me tell you, there is no one in this room, not excluding your speaker, who hasn't had more hurt than they would care to have again, and more pain than they'd care to go through, and more of all the stuff that I keep telling you about. And that's exactly why I know wherein I speak of these things. Because I just speak to you of the consciousness that is present in every one of us. And it doesn't make it go away to make somebody wrong. Now you're hurt and you're with the wrong person. See, if it hurts and you're with the right person, there's a little hope. It's my problem and you're part of it. Yeah. And I wake up in the morning, I see you, and I have more problems. It's really sad to go to bed with a heartache and wake up in the morning with a heartache. And look at that day and say, I don't want to go through it. And yet, that is the very day that God has created. And the birds sing and be joyful. I got some birds outside my bedroom and they sing and joyful at 6:30 and 7 o'clock. And I don't like that. So I've been putting out a lot of flies and things for the mother bird to feed them so they'll grow in a hurry and get out. And I go out there and chant spiritual uplifting songs to them. Grow, grow, grow. Grow, grow, grow. But what I'm looking for now is how this mother and father bird are going to teach these little noisy things how to fly. You see, they already know how. They already know how. All they've got to do is fall out of the nest a few times. Now, I have this great compassionate heart, so I'm thinking maybe the day they go to fly, I'll lower the nest down about 2 or 3 inches from the floor. So when they fall, it won't hurt too bad. Now, that could really sound reasonable, couldn't it? Except if it doesn't hurt, they may fall 10,000 times and not learn. And maybe if I put it back up there the 8 feet, they'll fall once, go whacko, and say, I ain't going to do that again. You know, crawl back up in the nest and sit there and say, feed me some more. You cannot bring forward something where there is nothing. Everything we bring forward from us as a talent, as a creation, as a love, has already been placed inside of us by the spiritual form that has total abundance and contact with everything. Just total contact with everything, and things that you don't know about that are coming in these next few years. It's already here in the spirit. And these people are going to contact that as the timeline moves. They're going to manifest some things, and you're going to say, wow. Where did that come from? Why wasn't it here a few years ago? It wasn't here a few years ago because it wasn't here a few years ago. Well, why not? Who can answer that? It's just what it is. Well, I can tell you why it wasn't here a few years ago. Because you weren't willing to accept the information a few years ago that it was here. You see, evolution of consciousness on this planet through man is decided by our willingness to expand consciousness to new levels of awareness that we can encompass that is new coming in. And our unwillingness to grow because we have to change, and we don't want to do that, has kept us in this position of called no progress. No progress. And so it takes those around us, called bosses and spouses and children, and just life in general, to push us out of the nest, where we've just been getting fat and growing, waiting for the chance to fly, and I'm not going to get out of that nest till I can fly. And you're not going to fly till you get out of that nest, and I'm not getting out of the nest till I can fly. You know, that's the thing of the mother that says to the child, don't go near that swimming pool, you know you can't swim. So how am I going to learn? Lay here on the ground, do some stroking. Mother, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. Not getting in that pool because you can swim. Does that make sense to us to give those contradictory signals to somebody? No. And do we do things like that? Often. Why? Because our inability to swim and our fear of our inability to swim is visited onto the child, who may have tremendous ability to swim, and you won't know until they get in the water. But you don't have to go in the deep end first. You go into it, see what it feels like. Only once did I run and jump into water without first putting my foot in. That was the first time I jumped in. Everybody was jumping in the water, and I ran and jumped in the water, and I jumped right back out, and I said, that's cold. I said a few more things besides that. And then to prove the point, I stood there and went blue and shook for everybody. After that, they say, the water's fine, come in. I walk over, and I'm very cagey, and I look around. I hold my hand up there, and while they're all looking there, I put my foot in. Right? And then if the water's cold, I say, not today. Or I go to the shallow end, a little bit of time, right? Called desensitizing myself. Called looking like the fool. Called coward. Called, I don't care what they call me. I do that over and over and over. You know why? It works. Now, after I've been in, there's a good chance I'll dive right back again. But that first shock in, some people like that. I ain't some of those people. It's okay for you to be a coward. It's okay for you to go slow and sure. It's okay not to be as macho as the rest of the girls. And dive in and swim like all, you know, like you're supposed to know how. Again, even at the moment of drowning, you somehow learn how to swim. Unless, of course, you don't. Then you drown. And you all know how bad that hurts. Well, we drown and stuff all the time. That we're not handling our life, and we feel like this is it, and I'm going down, and oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, I can't handle this. And you keep right on handling it, drowning and handling it and drowning. And pretty soon somebody comes around to you and they say, here's a towel, wipe yourself off. You know, it's time to get out of the drowning pool. It's time to get on with your life. It's, no, I got to keep drowning some more. As long as you perpetrate the causal energy against yourself as that emotional force, you will keep creating havoc and turmoil against yourself and inside of yourself. Once again, as long as you keep focusing that causal energy in a negative way inside of you and outside of you, you will be producing negativity that comes to you outside of you and inside of you in this world because you're doing it. Whether you like that statement or not doesn't bother me, folks. Well, a little, right there. It's gone. It doesn't bother me now. And I'll tell you why. Just what is, it is. And as long as you can see what is and align yourself with that modus operandi, you don't have to be concerned about what other people are doing in this world, because unless they align with the spiritual force of plenty and abundance and upliftment, they're going to be so busy drowning in their negativity, you won't have to be concerned about what they're doing. You'll know where to find them. And it's a sad place to look. Mankind just doesn't seem to be all that smart. This causal energy that we have is a plane of consciousness of spirit called cause and effect. Because you did this, here's the effect. Because you keep doing this, here's the effect. But why can't it come in a lot sooner so I can know that? Why? I've been telling you for years and you haven't changed it. So you don't know it anyway. Oh yeah, but I want to experience it for myself. You are. All that stuff that goes on around you, I don't have anything to do with that. You're doing that. You're producing it. And you want me to eat it with you. No. I don't necessarily like that idea of thou'st prepared me a table in the presence of my enemies. I don't really dig that too much. I like more of that prodigal son thing. I went out and had a good time, and I'm coming home and I'm eating what's good. I don't want to eat this other stuff. You people that are good at this, and you must be good because you eat it and survive, you don't learn the lesson because you then attempt to blame other people for your lack of mastery. And I'll tell you how you know when you have mastered. Your heart will tell you that your mastery is present in you as you. And at that moment, life transforms. Because the mind can expand into knowledge, and in this field of knowledge there are limitations. But the heart expands into loving, and loving knows all and encompasses the knowledge field. But if you think you've got to understand it, you're going to have to go through the field of knowledge. And when you get to the end of knowledge and you can't go further, you're going to say, I don't understand that. And so there's this limitation of what it is. We call this heartfelt loving, intuitive knowing. And here it's demonstrating as the living and loving and moving towards other people in their heart. Not necessarily moving towards them as an object, moving towards them in their heart. And that means that you must sensitize yourself to where they are in that moment. Because you may say, oh, I'm so loving for you, and pounce on them, and they don't want to be pounced on. They want to be left alone right then. So that loving heart is sensitive. And when you don't have the sensitivity to know, the loving heart says, is it okay if I pounce on you? You say, yeah. Or no. And either way, the loving heart says, fine. Because if I don't pounce on you, I can do other things. Can I just stand by you and be with you? And can we look at the sunset and whatever else there is? The other person usually says, what kind of a weirdo is this? Want to stand by me, look at the sunset. Want to pounce on me. Well, what kind of a weirdo is it that wants to stay and be depression and alienated and separated and worried all the time? What kind of weirdo is that? I'd rather be the other kind. At least you're a happy weirdo. You get the idea? Now, it doesn't matter how aberrated and weirdo and crazy you are, as long as you're happy at it. Because society will place its sanctions against you. Don't do that. Be unhappy. You're not serious enough. Take life serious. Well, right. Is that serious enough? Oh, yeah. Can you not laugh, be joyful, and still maintain the decorum of responsibility to yourself and to your environment? Absolutely. Sure. Can everybody do it? Can, yes. Will they? Probably not. Because their willpower is won't power. willpower is manifested by a strong desire and the physical body moving on the desire and bringing it about. So that way, the willpower is manifest by the end result. Too many people look at willpower as won't power and parade stubbornness off as willpower. And it's won't power. And they say, I won't give in, I'm just using my willpower. Really? Okay, just stay right there, don't give in. You'll be the beacon point for this universe, and the rest of us will move on. And if you give in, we'll have to get a new beacon for this universe. Well, I guess there's some humor in that, except there happens to be a lot of truth in there, too. How then do we deal with this causery energy, this emotional stuff that we have, so that it can be utilized, because it is a method of getting things in this world? Well, two ways that are primarily rather karmic free. One is waiting on God's will, and that's called let go and let God. And that translates to relax, let go, let God, be patient. So relax and be patient also is a tremendously valuable, great feeling. Just that whole thing. You say, well, what will happen? Wait a minute. You didn't let go. You didn't relax. You said, well, I was relaxing, letting go, but I want it to hurry right away. Those are contradictory terms. If you relax and let go, you could care less when it appears, and when it does appear, it's really fantastic timing. I didn't know it took 5 minutes. I didn't know it took 10 years. Huh. Well, how about that? That comes in karmic free to you. Often said in these terms, by your own works you cannot gain this, but by God's grace it is descended unto you. That works. That's one way. It's not bad. It's not bad. And there is an alternative. It's called this. By finding out who I am in this world and living the expressions of who I am, not as yea or nay, this is good or this is bad. Actually, I live in no opinion, that I'm just living the experience, and I watch my life and I experience my life, and I tip that over, that's gone, and I tip that over, that's gone. Do you clean it up? No, it's gone. I tip that over, it isn't gone, I'll clean it up, but I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Clean it up, it's fine. It's got to be done, I'll do it. So it is that type of a simple approach. Allows you then to be in a state of flow. That state of flow is whatever way the wind blows, you just move with it. It looks wishy-washy, except your focus is upon the North Star, or the Star of Bethlehem, or the Islamic star, or whatever star it is. You focus on the ideal and the principle involved in the ideal. And you start living the principle of, thou shalt have no other God before me. Honor your father and mother. Don't commit adultery. Don't kill. And run down the 10. And they're summarized this way. Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt others. And take care of yourself so you can take care of others. And that summarizes them. You see, in that time, information was given for those people with that type of consciousness. In this time, our consciousness is so much larger, so much grander, so much more in touch with the universe. Where before, even in the Bible, it didn't even talk about the stars prior to the flood. So they didn't even get to see them, if you follow that as being so. Now we not only see the stars, we're sending ships up to get a close look. And we're landing on, and we are having that vicarious experience of being there, and we've done it because we've seen other pictures, motion pictures, etc., and we've learned to identify and gain the thrill by that vicarious experience. We've seen the roller coaster ride. It took our stomach in the theater. We went down and got on the roller coaster ride, and it did the same thing, except we threw up. Always, though, the real experience has an added agenda. Always it is there. These experiences, these exposures, have allowed us to look more into each other's hearts. And we're being cursed as the me generation by a lot of the people in the world. You're only concerned about yourself. Well, let me tell you something about this world. If all these other people have been concerned about other people and not themselves, then why do they go blowing people up? And why do they kill people? Why do they have great wars about loving other people? You get what I'm saying? They think that we're doing an immoral thing because we're taking care of ourselves and not letting anybody kill us, and we're not killing anybody else. We're supposed to do what they did. Love everybody, love your neighbor yourself, shoot them, kill them. We're supposed to do what they did. They haven't done a very good job. They, meaning us, because a lot of us were in that. To thine own self be true, then you cannot be false to any other man. That's so. And the more you can be true to yourself, the less Spirit will discipline you as a loving process. For all it does is remove itself and allow the negativity to flow. Because that is your will working. You have willed yourself to that. You've willed the desires to that. And willpower does not mean that it's going to be a positive action. It could be a negative action, and you can have desire and action and manifest the will and come up negative and wish you had never have done that. Because there's no statement out there that says, because you will, it is God's divine energy that you will with. It is your own energy, and if it's corrupted, it's corrupted. And yet, in the moment of the corruption, sits inside of you that small voice called conscience that says, don't do that. And then you turn it off by saying, I won't listen to that because I want to do it. I'm going to get even at what cost there is. And we feel good then in doing the negativity at that cost because we got even. And Spirit then stands back and you forfeit divine aid by that process. It doesn't mean that divine aid is not present inside of you and available and ready. It always has been and always will be, and you're denied it because you've turned it off. That dishonesty turns from it and divine aid is forfeited. And it's there when you turn it back on. Do you have to be greatly concerned about that? No. Why? Because God's business is forgiveness. And if your God isn't forgiving, you haven't got a big enough one. And that's not a license to go out and raise havoc and hurt people for the divine forgiveness, because the forgiveness will be present and you're forgiven to the level of your expression. And that expression may be hell. And you're forgiven to it, and that's it. No more, but what you got's enough. And you're saying, oh, I didn't even want that. But it's forgiven to you, that level of expression. Then what must we do? We must turn and climb back up the ladder. And that ladder is called purity. That ladder is called devotion. That ladder is called integrity, which means the oneness, the integration. And that ladder is called turning from that corrupted you before. And it will come along in another guise and run the corruption again. And you will know it by its labors and its fruits. For it will labor against you, and it will produce bitterness inside of you. And you think that things are going hard for you, it's because the negativity that you're in is laboring against you. It does not labor for you. Negative power does not labor for you. At the same time, the pure power of Spirit will cleanse you and bring forward the negativity to be released. And the difference in that is the negativity is released and gone in the pure approach, and in the negative approach, it's over and over and over and over and over, and we keep going through the same thing over, like I spoke of earlier. You run the same stuff over and over and over, and then you guise it and couch it in the terms of spiritual, and it's not. It's in terms of negativity, and you're feasting at the gates of hell. That sound you hear, that clicking sound, is not you coming in the body. It's the gates opening into the place of purification. And hell is the purifier. Is it punishment? Yeah, I guess so. If you're being purified of what you don't want. Is it meant to be a punishment? There are no structured forces in the creation of universes that are structured as punishment. But by the level of your expression, it does punish you. And it goes this way. If you've only evolved up spiritually to a 100-watt bulb, and you evolve up to a 10 million watt bulb, that will be punishment. You understand that? It's not meant to be. And you would turn from it and fall and be blinded. And it's not punishment. But if you're at 100 and they go to 150, that's cool, 200, and eventually you can evolve to that 1,000,000 watts of light energy. Is it punishment? If it was punishment in the beginning, it's punishment in the end. And if it's not, then it has always just been what it always is. When you start a process of lying and deceit, falsehood, ripping people off, the end result down the road, no matter how far you look, is going to be deceit, rip-off, lying, negativity, and a lot of hurt and separation and recrimination. Because that's the child that you're raising inside of you, no matter how you dress it in garbs of purity. That's just the way that thing works, folks. And yeah, I wished it would change it too, but changed a long time ago, so I wouldn't have to have eaten it either. But it did. And that's why I know what that is. And I've seen thousands and millions of people run the negativity as purity, and they get to the end, and it's still negative. And you know what they say? Well, I knew that. I mean, I really knew it. I mean, I knew it all along, and yeah. But all along, you say, look, there's negativity. No, no. Have you ever seen little kids look you in the eye and lie up a storm, and you believe them? And later on, you find out that it was the lie anyway, no matter what you believed. So when you brought punishment to them as an awakening form, they knew they earned it. Because they knew it. No matter what they said, that's what it is. It's what we live that makes the difference, not what we say about what we're living. Because it's so easy to pick on anyone in this world in terms of no matter how great they're living and make them look less than what's present. That's so easy because you see, the human mind censors and the spiritual mind forgives. So we're always censoring people in the negative world and fault finding, and the spiritual quality is the forgiveness and the automatic understanding. Yes, we do those things. It's over. Can we go on now? The human mind goes back and says, no, let's punish you for that because I don't want you to do it again. Well, if you don't want them to do it again, take away the thing that they're doing. If you don't want the children to steal the cookie in the cookie jar, don't bring cookies in the house. Then you won't have to beat them so they won't do it again. And then beat them and supply the cookies and beat them when they eat them. And you're supplying the very thing. You might say, well, I like cookies and that kid's going to get beat. Put the cookies in your bedroom. That's where they are. You don't eat in your bedroom, you get fat. I know, but I've earned it because I quit smoking. Yes, now you quit smoking and you're fat. Ha, 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 ha. How wonderful. So now you get to lust after the cookies. People do that. Is that okay? Sure, it's okay. Why? Because at some point they'll see it and they'll change, and all that's past. Unless you stand there as the critique and the judge and the record keeper of everything bad about them and keep playing it back to them as their guilt. Well, that's not your job. Forget that. We're so busy in this world running the negativity, lest anybody forget and do it again, that we're continually having good reference points of how to do it again. Do you notice that we learn by observing? If you want to learn to rob a bank, you don't go down and sit in a pharmacy. You go and sit in the bank and watch people rob it. Or you watch on television how they go about doing it. You learn by that. And if you don't want to learn how to rob a bank, don't show them how to rob the bank. Yeah, but you're not showing them real life. But show them the part where they got locked up in jail. And then show them the real life of what happens to them in there, how they can be debased. Show them the real life, but show it all the way through. And show their torment and their negativity, or show none of that would mislead them. You understand we have a responsibility. You know, that's as bad as going to the beach and seeing a beautiful girl in a bikini, and so you seduce her, and then you end up getting some sort of venereal disease. Well, she says, well, you seduced me. I didn't have any responsibility to you. The heck you didn't. You were carrying and you knew it. Yeah, well, dress up and get off the beach. Be responsible to yourself, because you knew that's the way we are, that we're tempted and we fall. Oh, I get it. You can stay on the beach. I won't come to the beach because there is an alternative. And it is, if you can't control yours, so that's cool, I'll redirect mine, so that's cool. But then we say, well, but I should have the right to the beach if I want the beach. Yeah, just take your penicillin with you. Or something else. And one day you'll have so much penicillin, that won't work. Then what do you do? Stay away from the beach. Well, if you're going to stay away from the beach in the end, stay away in the beginning sometime, because the end result will be the same. You gain the discipline by seeing what is present that restricts you and say, that's okay. And I don't have to do that. And I will choose an alternative. I'll do this instead. In that moment, the beach releases its hold on you. Not that the beach out there's got a hand on you, but inside of you. That place where you run, I got to do that. Let's go. And when it lets go, you now have new energy available to you that you have not had prior to that, because it's been locked in a certain form inside of you. If we are not functioning in a high level of energy exchange with the spirit in our body, we are in the process of dying rapidly. That high exchange rate is the willingness to get up and be involved with the body in terms of the spirit that's present, not in terms of the desire and the willpower. Because I've said before, that may be negative, and you can create things that you don't want. You see, the thing that people then run, but it seems so clear. Did it really? No. No, when I really get down inside and look, it didn't. Now that's clear. Oh, yeah, all of a sudden something just went away from me. Because dealing with the truth and owning to the truth frees you. It does not free you in terms of your concept. It frees you in terms of your experience. If you get that real clear, your life starts coming clear. That spirit moves forward inside of you, and you're living the spiritual life without having to say, oh, I'm living the spiritual life. No. That's a crazy bird. You don't have to do that. It is just there as a contentment. Not as a place where you're dopey and spaced out. No. You're well aware. You're aware of what's going on because you're in the spiritual form that is awareness. But you're not in a state of urgency in the awareness, nor emergency in the awareness. You're just in a state of awareness that is restful, calm, content. And it seems like the universe says, oh, that person over there, they're the ones to take care of this because they've got their head together. Yeah, give them all the things. They'll then take it and put it into the world. And those other people that are uptight, reaching and grabbing, it says, don't give it to them. They're so uptight they'll mash it when they get a hold of it. Give it to one who is more sensitive of what's being given. But every time we reach out and grab, it is not the thing that we grab that is the problem area. It is that that thing that we grab represents a certain form of attitude inside of us. And that attitude is stating where we are in that consciousness at that moment. And that's often what hurts. You know, the story is told of a husband and a wife checking out food. And when the money came back down, he had paid for it, and there's 50 cents, and she grabbed it and put it in her purse. It's a one hell of a mosquito, I'll tell you. I'm just glad that science hasn't gotten around to breeding mosquitoes and bumblebees, because then you get sting along with itch. Oh. Don't worry about it for a while. He's not doing anything else. It is amazing how something like that down there can completely blow my consciousness. What's more funny is the person's getting a ticket. It's not just an easy ticket. There's an interesting thing that when you're sitting in a spiritual form and anything comes against it, that anything is going to have to eat what it puts out rapidly. It is its own protection field. That's why those who are living the spiritual life don't have to do anything to get even, because evenness is already taken care of by that knows how to take care of it perfectly. Perfectly. You see, we humans, when we go to take revenge, we overtake it. But when the spiritual force takes revenge, it evens it out so that is even, it's completed. And when you can take your comeuppance in the spirit by which you put it out. Well, I was speeding and I thought I was getting away with it. I went 100 miles speeding. I didn't get a ticket, but when I got it, it's for 100 miles over the speed limit. Well, yeah, but I went 100 miles. Yeah, but you got a ticket. Yeah, that's right, I got a ticket. And that ticket will get your license. Yeah, but I went 100 miles before they got me. I know, and they got you. And you can't live in that past 100 miles that you went. And you're going to live in the jail. Because you see, what you've done is upset the flow of your energy field to think that you can flaunt your own energy field and get away with the cause and effect energy that we're all putting out. We put it out by waking up. We put it out by sleeping. We put it out by not doing anything, because that's the nature of what we're dealing with. We are creators. The creative form is present all the time. Stay within the spiritual flow, and that you create is immediately dissolved. It's immediately dissolved. So when you finish whatever you're through with, it's over. When the Spirit says it's over, you hear good news, because then it means you're in the state of God, the state of co-creation. And this earth doesn't exist, not even as a memory. Beirish Beshan.